What's going on, everybody out there in YouTube world, YouTube land? I am Real Estate J. And today, let's talk about this court case. This Moerhl, I believe that's how you pronounce it, versus NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors. National Association of Realtors. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this because the reason, and again, I'm just giving you my opinion, right? This lawsuit is not over yet, but I'm going to bring you guys up to speed on where we are with this Moerhl versus NAR. From what I've been researching, there's 3 lawsuits out there for the same thing. And what is going on is that sellers are suing the National Association of Realtors. And I'll continue to refer to them as NAR. And this is big, right? Because as a real estate agent, you know, I'm a part of NAR, right? Because even though you pass your state license, you can become a real estate agent. But when you become an actual realtor, the term realtor is when you become a part of an association, and National Association of Realtors kind of sets the rules and regulations for everything. So when you become a part of an association, you become a realtor. All right. They're the big group. They got all the money. They got the legislation. They got all of it. They're now being sued by homeowners. And there's 3 out there. This is I guess the big one. And so what is happening is that they're saying that the seller does not want to pay the buyer's commission. All right. So they no longer want to pay the buyer's commission anymore. They want the buyer's broker, I believe, to now just figure it out and pay the buyer. And this case has been getting a lot of traction. I believe there's a settlement involved or in the works. And this is starting to become something very, very scary and very, very real very quickly. Let me give you my thoughts on this. So that's what this lawsuit is about, right? Homeowners suing NAR because they no longer want to pay buyer broker commissions, right? They no longer want to pay the buyer side their money as far as the commission. All right. They think that is now the buyer's responsibility. And I think it's a part of some type of Sherman Antitrust Act. So now that whole Antitrust Act is like, you know, basically just trying to make sure everything is competitive and no one is taking advantage of people and monopolizing on things. So now they're saying, well, the real estate agents on the buyer side is now monopolizing because I'm now having to pay 6% and I shouldn't. Let me tell you something about what I believe is happening to the real estate agent platform. There's a lot of rumblings going on right now. Let's not ignore it, right? Like on this show right here, we're going to address what the hell is going on now. Technology is definitely coming into the real estate market. All right. Now, my wife's cousin lives down in Florida, and I believe he said he used either Redfin, Red Door, or something like that. And he didn't have to use a real estate agent to buy his home. He said, I submitted all my paperwork online and I closed. He said it took a little bit longer, maybe like an extra week or 2, but I didn't have to deal with a real estate agent. It was all online. The real estate platform, this agent platform, is starting to change very, very quickly. We are in a world of information. We're in a world where someone can go and Google how to close my house without a real estate agent. There's a very, very important spot for us in the whole ecosystem of selling real estate. I understand that and I know that. But at the end of the day, when more homeowners start to figure out that they don't need to sell with a real estate agent, or how they can now save a whole 3% by not using you as a buyer's agent, things are going to get very, very messy very, very quickly. Because the very first thing that most people say when they go to sell a home is, how much is your commission? How much do I got to pay? And you tell them, well, 3% for the sell side and then 3% for the buyer side. Oh, so I got to pay 6%. Why do I have to pay for the buyer? And we used to only tell them that's just the way it is. Now they're going to tell you, if this settlement goes through, Moerhl versus NAR, if this actually goes through, they're only going to have to pay 3%. And so I would assume that now the buyer has to now pay for that buyer to close the deal, which I would think that would go towards maybe their additional closing cost. Now, I do understand the concept, though, of seller pay for the person that they've hired to list their home. And I also do understand, hey, buyer, pay for your agent that you've hired to help you go and buy a home. I'm probably the only first agent that's going to say that, because when I close a wholesale deal, usually the seller doesn't pay anything. The buyer brings the money, and the buyer's paying me as a wholesaler. So I'm kind of coming from a wholesale perspective, where the buyer usually pays me because I'm bringing him the deal. And it makes sense to pay the buyer. Now, there's going to have to be something that happens here if this goes through and becomes new law. There's got to be a way where the buyer's not having to pay an extra $5,000 and $10,000, $15,000 on their closing costs in order to hire a real estate agent. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but they need to figure it out. Because if the buyer pays for the buyer's agent, that's fine. But we can't add that cost to a buyer. Right? Does the mortgage company pay for that? Right? Are they going to have to wrap that into the loan somehow? There's going to be a lot of rumblings going on if this thing passes. And I think that people aren't really looking at it and understanding it, because things have been happening in the real estate market over the last few years, with Zillow getting to the game, Red Door, and just things are going on. They may not be successful, but things are going on. And that's how you make adjustments in business. You figure out what worked and what didn't, and then you come to a solution. That's what's going on right now. That is what's going on right now. So this Moerhl versus NAR, if this goes through and it's going to trial right now, there's a lot of money involved that the NAR is going to lose. And the NAR always, they've had a lot of money, right? Or they have a lot of money. So that's what they've always been able to bank on. But if they get sued, I'm hearing it's in the billions. I'm hearing the figures are in the billions of dollars that could be transferred over to this Moerhl, as far as if they win. And there's going to be sellers that can be compensated back from the commissions that they paid to buyers' agents. This is big news in real estate. I don't think people are talking much about it. If this happens, it changes a lot of stuff. Because now that buyer has to now figure out, okay, how am I going to pay for a real estate agent? Houses are already not that affordable. So again, can you imagine the new rule being, okay, buyer's brokerage, you pay for the buyer's agent, but now that's going to get added to your mortgage statement, or not mortgage statement, but it's going to be added to your closing cost. And he goes from having to only bring $8,000 to the table to now having to bring $20,000 to the table. Huge, huge hit. So something I'm going to pay attention to a little bit more. I don't really like a lot of the rumblings going on in the real estate market. Definitely as an agent, people are very savvy now. They do know how to look up stuff and figure out how to sell their own house or how to do it for sale by owner. And, they may struggle, but not saying it's impossible for them to figure out. All right. So I wanted to make that video on that because it's happening and it's going on, and it's something we need to figure out, because this will knock out a lot of real estate agents that are already in the game right now. This will really, really slim down on a lot of realtors out there, I believe. So with that being said, just wanted to throw that out to you. Some for us agents to kind of be aware of, figure out how we can start to pivot now. All right. I'm already thinking about it now. I'm not waiting until this trial is over to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm pivoting at this current moment, because things are going to change. All right. So like I said, at the end of the day, this is chess, not checkers. And I see y'all at